The emergency lights bathed the sterile corridors of the Mercy's Hand in pulsing crimson. Dr. Elena Reyes stumbled as another impact rocked the hospital ship, sending medical supplies clattering across the floor. The vessel, marked clearly with the Universal Red Cross, should have been untouchable, protected by every interspecies treaty in existence. "This isn't happening," she whispered, steadying herself against a wall. The ship's AI spoke with artificial calm. "Warning. Hull breach detected in sectors 7 through 12. Emergency protocols engage. All medical personnel report to evacuation stations." Elena ran toward the intensive care unit, her heart hammering. 237 patients were aboard. Refugees from the mining colony on Daenerys IV, victims of a radiation leak. Many couldn't be moved. Most wouldn't survive an evacuation. As she rounded the corner, she collided with the ship's security chief, Commander Marcus Chen. "They're targeting life support," he said, his voice tight. Blood streaked his temple. "This isn't a mistake or a warning shot." "Who would attack a hospital ship?" Elena demanded. Marcus's expression darkened. "The Varn Imperium. 3 warships. They've jammed our distress signals. The diplomatic team. Dead." Marcus cut her off. "Direct hit to the bridge." They knew exactly where to strike. Another explosion sent them both sprawling. The lights flickered, then died completely, leaving only the emergency strips illuminating the floor. "We need to get the critical patients to the escape pods," Elena said, pushing herself up. Marcus's hand closed around her wrist. "Elena, listen to me. There won't be time to evacuate everyone." Their eyes met in the dim light. 20 years of friendship passed between them in a single look. "Then we save who we can," she said. As they rushed toward the ICU, Elena activated her comm unit. "This is Dr. Reyes. All staff, begin emergency evacuation procedures. Priority 1 patients first." The response came fragmented, panicked voices overlapping. "Can't move the cryostasis patients without. Pediatric ward is cut off by the breach in Sector 9. They're targeting the escape pods as they launch." Elena froze in the doorway of the ICU. Inside, a lone figure stood by a patient's bed. A tall man with broad shoulders, his back to her. Despite the chaos, he seemed perfectly still, an island of calm. "Sir, we need to evacuate immediately," she called. When he turned, Elena recognized him. Captain James Keller, Earth Defense Force, retired. His military service record was legendary, the hero of the Proxima campaign. He'd arrived 3 days ago with his wife, Layla, who lay unconscious in the bed beside him, connected to life support systems. "She can't be moved," he said simply. His voice was quiet, but something in it made Elena's skin crawl, a cold fury tightly contained. "Captain Keller, the ship is breaking apart. We have to." The overhead speakers crackled with a new voice, not the ship's AI, but something alien, speaking through a translator. "Attention, human vessel. This is High Commander Vexera of the Varn Imperium. Your continued existence is an impediment to Imperium expansion. The weak must make way for the strong. Your destruction serves as notification that the non-aggression pact with Earth is hereby terminated." James Keller's hand tightened around his wife's. "How long does she have if these machines stop?" he asked Elena. "Minutes," Elena answered honestly. "But Captain," a massive explosion tore through the adjoining ward. The deck buckled beneath their feet. Alarms blared through the ship as the hull integrity failed. "Go," Keller said to Elena, his eyes never leaving his wife's face. "Get to the escape pods." "Come with us," she pleaded. He shook his head once. "I'll stay with her until the end." Marcus appeared in the doorway. "Elena, we have to go now." As Elena turned to leave, Captain Keller spoke again, his voice eerily calm. "When you reach Earth, tell them what happened here. Tell them James Keller sends a message to the Varn Imperium." Elena hesitated. What message? His eyes finally met hers, and what she saw there made her blood run cold, Not grief or fear, but something terrible in its certainty. I'm coming for them. All of them. Hashtag Chapter 2. The Lone Survivor. Admiral William Hayes stared at the holographic display showing the debris field where the Mercy's hand had been. 6 weeks had passed since the attack, and the diplomatic crisis had Earth on the brink of war with the Varn Imperium. Play it again, he ordered. His aide, Lieutenant Amara Okafor, nodded. Yes, sir. The recording began once more, the final transmission from the Mercy's hand captured by a passing merchant vessel. Dr. Elena Rice's face appeared, her features distorted by static and partially obscured by smoke. This is Dr. Elena Rice of the UNHS Mercy's hand *. We are under attack by Varn Imperium warships. They've targeted our life support systems and escape pods. 237 patients and 112 medical staff were aboard. Her voice broke. I am the only survivor. The image shuddered as an explosion rocked her escape pod. Tell Earth what they did. Tell them. She looked over her shoulder, as if someone else was there, then back at the camera. And if Captain James Keller survived somehow, God help the Varn. The recording ended. Admiral Hayes rubbed his temples. And we're certain Keller went down with the ship, he asked. Lieutenant Okafor consulted her datapad. His wife was on life support in the ICU. According to Dr. Rice's debriefing, he refused evacuation. Recovery teams found no intact escape pods at the site besides Dr. Rice. What about the black box? Recovered yesterday, sir. It confirms the Varn targeted life support first, then systematically destroyed escape pods as they launched. Hayes slammed his fist on the table. A hospital ship. They attacked a damned hospital ship. Sir, Okafor said hesitantly, there's something else. Intelligence reports unusual activity in the Varn border outposts. 3 of their listening posts have gone silent in the past week. Hayes frowned. The Varn are preparing for war. We should be too. That's just it, sir. Our analysts don't think it's us they're afraid of. Before Hayes could respond, his secure terminal chimed. Admiral Hayes, secure line. A voice he didn't recognize answered. Authorization code. Echo Tango 79er Delta. Hayes straightened. That was a top-level intelligence code. Admiral, this is Director Kwan, Special Operations Division. We need to talk about James Keller. Keller is dead, Hayes said flatly. No, sir, he isn't. Director Kwan's voice was tight. And the Varn Imperium is about to learn why that's a problem. 3 days earlier, on the frozen moon of Herrick 7, at the edge of Varn territory, Sub-Commander Trelvek shivered despite his thermal uniform. The listening post should have been staffed by 12 soldiers, but he'd found only corpses, killed with surgical precision, no signs of struggle. The station's logs showed nothing unusual until communications suddenly ceased. No alarms had been triggered, no distress signals sent. Then Trelvek discovered the message, carved into the metal wall of the command center. I am coming for you all. Keller *. He was about to report this discovery when the station's systems detected an approaching vessel. Trelvek hurried to the observation deck, training his scope on the small ship that had appeared from behind Herrick 7's northern ridge. It was a medical transport, small, unarmed, with the Universal Red Cross emblazoned on its hull. The same marking that had been on the human hospital ship they'd destroyed. As Trelvek watched in confusion, the medical transport's sides opened, revealing not mercy, but retribution. Missile batteries sliding into position, targeting systems locking onto the listening post. His last thought, before the station erupted in flames, was that the Imperium had made a terrible mistake. Hashtag Tier 3. The J-Host. You look like hell, James. Captain James Keller didn't turn from the viewport where he stood watching the stars. His reflection showed a face transformed, leaner, harder, with a jagged scar running from his right temple to his jaw. His once regulation haircut had grown out, streaked with gray. Fitting, he replied. I've been there and back. Director Samira Kwan stepped beside him on the bridge of the stealth vessel Spectre *. It wasn't an official Earth Defense Force ship. At least, not on any registry. Like Keller himself, it technically didn't exist. The Varn are panicking, she said. 3 outposts destroyed, 2 supply convoys vanished. Their high command is in chaos. Good, Keller said simply. Kwan studied him. The official position of Earth government remains that you died on the Mercy's hand *. I did. James, she said, her voice softening slightly. What happened after the attack? How did you survive? He closed his eyes briefly. The memory was still razor sharp, Layla's hand growing cold in his as the life support failed, the ship breaking apart around them. The cold vacuum of space. I didn't plan to survive, he said finally. I planned to die with her. But when the hull breached and the vacuum took her, something broke in me, Samira. Something fundamental. He turned from the viewport. You know about the experimental EDF program I participated in before retirement. Project Lazarus. Kwan nodded. Cellular regeneration and enhancement. It was discontinued. Not discontinued. Classified. My body was enhanced at the molecular level, designed to adapt, regenerate, survive. When the ship exploded, I should have died. Instead, I woke up floating among the debris, my body rebuilding itself. Kwan couldn't hide her shock. That's impossible. So was attacking a hospital ship. Keller's voice hardened. A salvage vessel picked me up 3 days later, thinking I was debris. They were surprised when their salvage woke up. And now you're on a one-man crusade against the entire Varn Imperium, Kwan said. Not alone. Keller gestured to the bridge around them. I have resources. People who believe the Varn need to answer for what they did. Vigilant justice isn't the answer, James. Earth is pursuing diplomatic channels. While the Varn prepare for war, he cut her off. They attacked that ship as a statement, Samira. They wanted to show that humans are weak, that our compassion is a vulnerability they can exploit. His eyes met hers. I'm sending a different message. Kwan sighed. That's why I'm here. To bring you in, or at least bring you under some kind of control. For the first time, Keller smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. You always were optimistic. The ship's AI interrupted. Captain, target acquired. Varn diplomatic vessel approaching the rendezvous coordinates. On the main screen, a sleek Varn ship appeared, its distinctive blade-like profile unmistakable. That's Ambassador Korvek's personal transport, Kwan said, alarmed. James, if you attack a diplomatic vessel, there's no coming back from that. It's an act of war. No, Keller said quietly. It's justice. He activated the ship's comm system. Varn vessel, this is Captain James Keller of Earth. After a moment of silence, a response came. This is impossible. Keller perished on the human medical ship. I'm very much alive, Keller replied. And I bring a message from those who weren't as fortunate. He nodded to his weapons officer, who pressed a sequence of controls. Instead of weapons fire, the Spectre projected a massive hologram into space between the vessels, hundreds of faces floating in the void, the patients and crew of the Mercy's hand *. Remember them, Keller said. Everyone. My wife, Layla Keller, was among them. She had dedicated her life to developing medicines that would have benefited all species, including the Varn. Another image appeared. The Mercy's hand * itself, clearly marked as a medical vessel. You targeted a ship of healing, Keller continued. You called it weak. Now you will learn what strength truly is. The Varn ambassador's voice came through, tinged with what might have been fear. What do you want, human? I want the high command officials who ordered the attack to surrender themselves for trial under Galactic Accords. You have 48 hours. The Imperium does not bow to threats from lesser beings, the ambassador replied, though with less conviction than before. This isn't a threat, Keller said softly. It's a promise. 48 hours, Ambassador Korvek. After that, I continue my work. He cut the transmission and turned to Quan, who stood speechless. You were never going to attack them, she realized. Not today, Keller agreed. But they don't know that. Fear is a powerful weapon. Samira, one the Varn taught me to use. Chapter 4. The Gathering Storm. The emergency session of the Earth Defense Council erupted into chaos as the recording of Keller's ultimatum played. Admiral Hayes stood stoically at the center of the storm, waiting for the shouting to subside. This rogue operative has single-handedly pushed us to the brink of war. General Santos slammed his fist on the table. We need to disavow him immediately and hand him over to the Varn. Assuming we could find him, Admiral Hayes countered. And I'm not convinced we should. The Varn attacked a hospital ship without provocation. They violated every treaty we've established. Defense Minister Chandra raised her hand for silence. The diplomatic situation is complicated. The Varn claimed the Mercy's Hand was carrying biological weapons developed specifically to target their species. That's absurd, Hayes snapped. It was treating refugees from a mining accident. Nevertheless, that's their position, Chandra replied. And now they're demanding we hand over this ghost, who's been terrorizing their outposts. Dr. Elena Reyes, seated at the far end of the table, finally spoke. I was there. I saw what they did. There were children aboard that ship, families. The Varn knew exactly what they were targeting. All eyes turned to her. As the lone survivor of the Mercy's Hand her testimony carried weight. And Captain Keller, Minister Chandra asked gently, you were one of the last to see him alive. Elena's gaze didn't waver. He chose to stay with his wife. He knew they wouldn't survive. Yet somehow he did, General Santos muttered. The doors to the chamber slid open, and Director Quan entered, nodding respectfully to the council. Director, Minister Chandra acknowledged. I assume you have an update on the Keller situation. I made contact, Quan confirmed, ignoring the gasps around the table. He's alive, and he's given the Varn 48 hours to surrender those responsible for the attack. Or what? General Santos demanded. Or he continues what he started, Quan said simply. Which, so far, has been systematically dismantling Varn military outposts while leaving their personnel largely unharmed. Largely, Hayes raised an eyebrow. There have been casualties, Quan admitted, but far fewer than you might expect for the damage he's caused. Minister Chandra sighed heavily. The Varn ambassador is demanding a response within 12 hours. If we don't denounce Keller's actions and assist in his capture, they consider it an act of war. They already committed an act of war, Elena Rice said, her voice cutting through the tension. They just didn't expect anyone to fight back. Silence fell over the room. Finally, Admiral Hayes spoke. I propose a third option. We neither endorse nor condemn Captain Keller. Officially, we continue to believe he perished with the Mercy's Hand . We express regret for the attacks on Varn outposts while reminding them of their own transgression. Playing both sides, Admiral, General Santos asked skeptically. Buying time, Hayes corrected. The Varn Imperium outguns us 3-1. If war comes, we need to be prepared. And Keller? Quan asked. Hayes looked thoughtful. If he's as determined as you suggest, Director, he might just give us the edge we need. On the Varn homeworld of Varkrath, High Commander Vexera faced his own council. Once imposing and confident, he now appeared haggard, his scaled skin pale with stress. This human, this Keller, he is just one man, snarled War Minister Draz. How has he penetrated our defenses so easily? He is not just a man, Vexera replied quietly. Our intelligence suggests he was part of Earth's elite special forces, a warrior of exceptional skill, even before whatever transformation allowed him to survive the destruction of the hospital ship. A ship you ordered destroyed, Science Minister Ekla reminded him. Against my explicit warning that attacking medical vessels violates every civilized convention in the galaxy. Vexra bristled. The humans were growing too influential. Their humanitarian missions were spreading into our territories, winning allies among species we had marked for absorption. And now, Ekla gestured to the holographic display showing the destroyed outposts. We face not just Earth's wrath, but that of a single human with nothing to lose. The chamber doors slid open, and a messenger hurried in, bowing low before Vexra. High Commander, we've received a transmission from the ghost ship. It's broadcasting on all frequencies across foreign space. The main screen activated, showing James Keller's face, hard, determined, his eyes burning with cold fury. People of the Varn Imperium, he began, your leaders have committed an atrocity against innocent beings whose only purpose was to heal and protect. They murdered 237 patients and 112 medical staff aboard the Earth hospital ship Mercy's Hand *. Images appeared beside him, the faces of those lost, including a final image of his wife, Layla. I do not blame all Varn for the actions of your leaders, but I will hold those leaders accountable. High Commander Vexra, War Minister Draz, Fleet Admiral Krenvor, you have 36 hours remaining to surrender yourselves to Earth authorities. Vexra hissed in fury, cut this transmission. But Keller continued, his voice reaching across foreign space. Each hour that passes, I will disable another military installation. I do not wish to harm your people, but I will dismantle your capacity for war piece by piece until justice is served. The transmission ended, leaving the Varn High Command in stunned silence. He named us, War Minister Draz whispered. He knows exactly who gave the order. We cannot capitulate to this human, Vexra declared, though his voice lacked conviction. Science Minister Ekla rose from her seat. Perhaps we should consider that our actions were misguided. Treason, Vexra snarled. Truth, Ekla replied calmly. What you called weakness in humans, their compassion, their dedication to healing, has created something far more dangerous than their warships. A human with nothing left to lose but his humanity itself. Chapter 5. The Hunter and TKE Hunted. The Varn border station Krell 9 hung in space like a jagged tooth, bristling with weapon emplacements and sensor arrays. It had been placed on highest alert after Keller's ultimatum, its crew doubled, and its shields reinforced. None of which explained how Captain James Keller now stood in its central command center, surrounded by unconscious Varn security officers. Station Commander Losvik stared in disbelief from where he was pinned against a console, Keller's forearm against his throat. Impossible, the Varn gasped. Our sensors, the alarms. Your technology is impressive, Keller acknowledged, easing the pressure slightly, but predictable. He gestured to a small device attached to the main console. This transmitter has been broadcasting security clearance codes directly into your system for the past hour, codes obtained from your outpost on Herrick 7 before I destroyed it. What do you want? Losvik asked, mandibles twitching in fear. Keller's expression remained impassive. Information. Access to your central military network. I cannot. You won't, Keller corrected, but your security protocols will. He pressed a hypo spray against the commander's neck. This contains a mild paralytic. You'll be conscious but unable to interfere. As the drug took effect, Keller guided the commander's limp form to the main console. He positioned Losvik's hand on the biometric scanner, then placed a neural interface patch on the Varn's temple. Your security requires both biological and mental verification, Keller explained, almost conversationally. Your body and your conscious intent to access the system. The interface bypasses the intent portion by simulating your brain patterns. The console hummed to life, displaying streams of data in the Varn language. Why are you doing this? Losvik managed to ask, his voice slurred. Your vengeance is disproportionate to our offense. For a moment, something flashed across Keller's face. A glimpse of the man he had been before. My wife was developing a universal vaccine, he said quietly, downloading data from the console. It would have protected all sentient species against the Novara plague. 3 years of work with successful trials. She was transporting the research and prototypes to the central medical facility on Earth. Understanding dawned in Losvik's eyes. The Novara plague. It affects Varn most severely. If a vaccine existed, it would have saved millions of Varn lives, Keller confirmed, along with those of countless other species. That research died with her when your leaders decided compassion was weakness. He finished the download and removed the neural interface from Losvik's temple. I'm not a murderer, Commander, Keller said, stepping back. I could have killed everyone on this station. Instead, you'll all wake up in a few hours with nothing worse than a headache. But the station, Losvik asked. Keller moved toward the exit. The station stays intact. But I've locked your weapon systems and transmitted the access codes for all Varn military installations to my allies. Consider it insurance. As he reached the doorway, he paused. 24 hours remain in my ultimatum, Commander. I suggest your leaders use them wisely. Aboard the Spectre Asterisk, Keller transmitted the data he'd acquired to a secure Earth Defense Force server. Director Kwan's face appeared on his comm screen. This is extraordinary, James, she said, scanning the information. Complete access to Varn defense networks, deployment patterns, communication protocols. Enough to give Earth a fighting chance if war comes, Keller said. If, not when. Keller's expression remained neutral. I still hope the Varn leadership will surrender those responsible. Kwan looked skeptical. And if they don't, then they'll learn what it means to face an enemy who understands sacrifice better than they do. A warning flashed on Keller's console. I have to go. Multiple Varn warships converging on my position. James, Kwan said urgently, come in. You've done enough. With this intelligence, Earth can. Not yet, he cut her off. There's one more piece to this puzzle. The transmission ended as Keller's ship accelerated away from the station, just as 5 Varn battlecruisers emerged from hyperspace. Captain, the ship's AI announced, Varn vessels are locking weapons. Standard evasive protocols are unlikely to be sufficient against this number of pursuers. Keller strapped himself into the pilot's seat. Who said anything about evasion? He pushed the ship directly toward the lead battlecruiser, accelerating to attack speed. Sir, the AI said, a note of concern in its synthetic voice. Collision course detected. They expect me to run, Keller said grimly. They don't understand what I've become. At the last possible moment, as the battlecruiser fired its main weapons, Keller activated a device he'd taken from the station. The Varn ship's targeting systems suddenly recalibrated, their weapons locking onto each other instead of the Spectre Asterisk. Chaos erupted as the Varn vessels fired, hitting their own fleet. Keller navigated through the confusion, pushing his ship beyond its design limits, the hull groaning under the strain. Damage to aft sections, the AI reported. Shields at 42%. Plot a course to these coordinates. Keller ordered, inputting a string of numbers. Maximum speed. Those coordinates are within the Varn homeworld system, the AI noted. Specifically, the orbital path of Varkrath. I know exactly where they are, Keller replied. It's time the Varn understand what it means to have their home threatened. The Spectre Asterisk vanished into hyperspace, leaving the Varn fleet in disarray behind it. Chapter 6. Fine Ale COUNTDOWN. The grand spires of the Varn Imperial Palace gleamed in the red light of the setting sun. Inside, the atmosphere was anything but peaceful as High Commander Vexra faced the Imperial Senate. 12 hours remain in this human's ultimatum, First Senator Vorak stated. Our military installations are falling one by one. 3 fleet groups defeated not by Earth's armada, but by a single vessel. We cannot bow to this terrorist, Vexra insisted. The Imperium has stood for 10,000 years. We will not be brought low by one vengeful human. Science Minister Ekla stepped forward. I have reviewed the data on this James Keller. Before his wife's death, he was decorated military officer with an exemplary record. He participated in peace negotiations with the Drax Confederation, negotiations that succeeded largely due to his diplomatic skills. Your point, Minister? Vexra asked coldly. My point is that we are not facing a madman or a terrorist. We are facing a principled warrior who believes he is serving justice. She looked around the chamber, and if we are honest, he has cause. Murmurs spread through the Senate. Many had privately questioned the attack on a hospital ship, though few had dared speak against it openly. You suggest we surrender? War Minister Draz asked incredulously. I suggest we acknowledge our error, Ekla replied. The attack was a miscalculation, one that has cost us more than we gained. We should. The chamber's lights suddenly flickered and died, plunging the Senate into darkness. When emergency systems activated moments later, a holographic image appeared in the center of the room. James Keller, standing tall and implacable. People of the Varn Imperium, he began, I speak to you from orbit around your homeworld. Gasps and hisses of shock echoed through the chamber. Your leaders told you the Mercy's Hand was carrying weapons designed to harm the Varn. They lied. It carried vaccines, including one that would have saved millions of your people from the Novara plague. The hologram shifted to show medical data, research notes, trial results, all bearing the name Dr. Layla Keller. My wife dedicated her life to healing across species barriers. In return, your leaders ordered her death, along with the deaths of hundreds of innocents. Vexra stepped forward, his scales flushed with rage. This is deception. The human lies. Do I? Keller's hologram turned toward Vexra. I have accessed your private communications, High Commander. The order to attack the Mercy's Hand came directly from you, with full knowledge of its humanitarian mission. Another imag appeared, a classified Varn document with Vexra's authorization code, ordering the destruction of the hospital ship. My ultimatum stands, Keller continued. Surrender those responsible, or face the consequences. The hologram vanished, leaving the Senate in uproar. First Senator Vorax turned to Vexra, his voice hard. Is this true? Did you know it was a medical research vessel? Before Vexra could respond, the palace security system blared an alert. Warning. Unknown vessel on direct approach to the Imperial Palace. Defense systems not responding. Outside, visible through the grand windows of the Senate chamber, a small ship appeared. The Spectre descending through Varcraft's atmosphere, untouched by defense fire. He's here, someone whispered in disbelief. Dr. Elena Reyes stood before the Earth Defense Council, her expression grave. Captain Keller has penetrated Varn homeworld defenses. He's broadcasting his approach to their Imperial Palace across all channels. General Santos shook his head in amazement. One man against an empire. It would be inspirational if it weren't so damned reckless. It may be both, Admiral Hayes said. The question is, what do we do now? The Varn will see this as an act of war by Earth. Unless we disavow him completely, Minister Chandra suggested. Declare him a rogue agent acting without authorization. Dr. Reyes stepped forward. With respect, Minister, that would be a mistake. Captain Keller is doing what we all wished we could do, demanding justice for an atrocity. At the potential cost of galactic war, Chandra reminded her. Director Kwan, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. We may have another option. The data Keller transmitted includes evidence that the Varn leadership deliberately targeted the Mercy's Hand knowing it was a medical vessel. More importantly, it reveals significant dissent within their own government about the decision. You're suggesting we exploit this division? Admiral Hayes asked. I'm suggesting we support those within the Varn government who want accountability, Kwan clarified. Make it clear that Earth's quarrel is not with the Varn people, but with those who ordered an attack on innocents. The council chamber's main screen suddenly activated, showing a transmission from Varkrath. The elegant figure of Science Minister Ikla appeared. Earth Defense Council. She began formally. I speak to you in my capacity as Acting High Minister of the Varn Imperium. High Commander Vexera and War Minister Draz have been removed from their positions pending investigation into their actions regarding the human vessel Mercy's Hand *. Shocked silence fell over the Earth Council. The Imperium acknowledges a grave error was made. Ekla continued. We request a cessation of hostilities and propose immediate diplomatic talks to prevent further escalation. Admiral Hayes found his voice first. And Captain Keller. Ekla's expression was unreadable. The human James Keller has made his point. We are prepared to address his demands through proper diplomatic channels, provided he ceases his campaign against our installations. He may not be satisfied with diplomatic solutions, Chandra warned. Nevertheless, Ekla replied, it is what we offer. The alternative is a war that will benefit neither of our peoples. As the transmission ended, all eyes turned to Director Kwan. Can you contact him? Hayes asked. Kwan nodded slowly. I can try, but whether he'll listen. He has to, Dr. Reyes said quietly. Otherwise, everything Layla worked for dies with her, replaced by endless war. Chapter 7. The Choice. The Spectre hovered above the Imperial Palace, its weapon systems locked on the central dome where the Varn Senate gathered. Inside the ship, Captain James Keller sat motionless at the controls, watching the timer on his ultimatum count down the final minutes. His comm system chimed with an incoming transmission, Director Kwan's security code. James, she began when he accepted the call. The Varn have capitulated. Vexera and Draz have been removed from power. They're offering diplomatic talks. Keller's expression didn't change. Removal from power isn't justice, Samara. It's political expediency. It's a start, she insisted. Minister Ikla has taken control. The same minister who opposed the attack on the Mercy's Hand *. She's acknowledged their wrongdoing publicly. Words, Keller said dismissively. My wife and 349 others are still dead. A new voice joined the transmission. Dr. Elena Reyes. Captain Keller, she said, her voice steady. You don't know me, but I was there. I was the last person to speak with you before the Mercy's Hand * was destroyed. Keller's eyes narrowed slightly. Dr. Reyes. The sole survivor. Yes. There was a pause. I watched you stay with your wife. I carried your message. And now I'm asking you to consider what Layla would want. The mention of his wife's name seemed to strike Keller like a physical blow. For a moment, the implacable mask slipped. You don't know what she would want, he said, but his voice had lost some of its coldness. I know she dedicated her life to healing, Elena replied, to saving lives, including Varn lives. The vaccine she developed would have prevented suffering across species barriers. That was her legacy, Captain. Not war, not revenge. Keller remained silent, his hand hovering over the weapon's controls. James, Director Kwan said gently, this is the moment you decide who you are. The man Layla loved, or something else entirely. On his console, a new transmission appeared, from the Imperial Palace below. When he accepted it, Science Minister Ekla's face appeared. Captain Keller, she began formally, I speak for the Varn Imperium. Those responsible for the attack on your medical vessel will face justice. I offer myself as hostage to ensure this promise is kept. Keller's eyebrows rose slightly. A bold offer, Minister. Not bold, she replied. Necessary. What was done was unforgivable. But I ask you to consider that there are two paths before us now. One leads to more death, including the deaths of millions of Varn who had no part in this atrocity. The other, she hesitated. The other honors your wife's work. How? Keller demanded. The research, Ekla said. Dr. Layla Keller's vaccine. Was it all lost with the ship? For the first time, Keller seemed uncertain. The primary research, yes. But Layla, she always kept backups. His hand moved to a small data device hanging from a chain around his neck. Core formulas. Trial results. Enough to reconstruct her work with time. Hope flickered across Ekla's features. The Novara plague has resurged in our outer colonies. Thousands are dying daily. Your White's work could save them, Captain, which he wanted buried with her, or which he wanted to fulfill his purpose. The timer on Keller's console reached 0. The weapons targeting system blinked, awaiting his command. In that moment, James Keller stood at a crossroads. Vengeance or redemption. Destroyer or healer. Hashtag Chapter 8. Lead JC. 3 months later, Dr. Elena Reyes stood in the gleaming new research facility orbiting Earth. Through the viewport, she could see the memorial that had been constructed. A perfect replica of the Mercy's hand rendered in translucent crystal, the names of all who had been lost etched into its surface, glowing softly against the backdrop of stars. "It's beautiful," she said quietly. Beside her, Admiral Hayes nodded. A fitting tribute, and a reminder of what can be lost when diplomacy fails. The doors slid open, and Director Kwan entered, accompanied by Science Minister Ekla. The Varn Minister looked out of place among the humans, her tall, scaled form drawing curious glances from the research staff. "The first shipments of the vaccine have reached the outer colonies," Ekla reported. "Initial results are promising. The death rate has already dropped by 60%. Layla would be pleased," Elena said. "What of the trials?" Kwan asked, her voice carefully neutral. Ekla's mandibles twitched, the Varn equivalent of a grimace. "High Commander Vexera and War Minister Draz have been convicted of crimes against sentient beings. They will spend the remainder of their lives in isolation, without rank or privilege. And the Imperium's official position on the attack," Hayes pressed. "A grievous violation of all we claim to stand for," Ekla said firmly. "The Senate has ratified new protocols ensuring military action cannot be taken without multiple levels of oversight. We cannot undo what was done, but we can ensure it never happens again." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a tall figure at the far end of the observation deck, Captain James Keller, still bearing the scar from his near death, but somehow changed. The cold fury in his eyes replaced by something more complex. "Captain," Hayes acknowledged with a respectful nod. "We weren't expecting you." "I wasn't planning to come," Keller admitted, "but today seemed important." Below them, in the main laboratory, scientists from Earth and Varkrath worked side by side, analyzing data from the vaccine distribution. "The Keller-Ekla Initiative," Director Kwan said, gesturing to the activity, "named for two people who chose a different path than the one laid before them." Ekla stepped forward, her posture stiff with formal dignity. "Captain Keller, my people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. Not just for the vaccine, but for the opportunity to reclaim our honor." Keller looked at her for a long moment. "It wasn't an easy choice," he said finally. "Part of me still wants vengeance. A natural desire," Ekla acknowledged. "Yet you chose differently." "I chose what Layla would have wanted," he corrected. "Her work was always about building bridges between species, not burning them." Dr. Reyes touched the memorial gently. 349 lives lost, millions potentially saved. "It doesn't balance the scales," Keller said quietly. "No," Ekla agreed, "but perhaps it gives their sacrifice meaning." As they spoke, a small ship appeared through the viewport, approaching the station, the Spectre *, now repurposed as a rapid response medical transport. "Your new command?" Admiral Hayes asked Keller. Keller nodded. "The vaccine needs to reach the most remote colonies quickly. The Spectre is uniquely suited to the task." "And afterward?" Kwan inquired carefully. A ghost of a smile crossed Keller's face. "One step at a time, Samara. I'm still figuring out who I am without her. The alert system chimed softly, announcing the arrival of the Spectre at the docking bay. I should go, Keller said. We're scheduled to depart within the hour. As he turned to leave, Ekla made a formal gesture of respect, a Varn salute reserved for those considered true warriors. The universe feared one man's revenge, she said. Now it will witness one man's redemption. Not just one man, Keller corrected, looking back at the scientists below, humans and Varn working together. All of us choosing a better way forward. He touched the data device that still hung around his neck, not just a repository of Layla's research now, but a reminder of her legacy. Not vengeance, but healing. Not destruction, but creation. As the Spectre departed the station hours later, its hull now bearing both the Earth insignia and the mark of the Varn Imperium, the message it carried was clear to all who saw it. Even in the darkest moments, there remains a choice, and sometimes the most difficult choice, to forsake revenge for reconciliation, to transform grief into purpose, is the one that truly changes the universe. In the vast emptiness of space, as stars stretched into streaks of light around the ship, Captain James Keller set course for the distant colonies. The ghosts of the Mercy's Hand would always travel with him, but now they guided him toward life, not death. Toward hope, not despair. It wasn't peace, not yet, but it was a beginning. #EPILOGE. 1 year later, a small transport shuttle docked at the memorial station. A solitary figure disembarked, Captain James Keller, thinner than before, his face weathered by the rigors of his mission, but his eyes clearer, more present. He made his way to the observation deck, where the crystal replica of the Mercy's Hand gleamed against the backdrop of stars. For a long while, he simply stood there, looking at the names etched into its surface. "I thought I might find you here," a voice said behind him. Keller turned to see Dr. Elena Reyes approaching. "Doctor, I didn't know you were stationed here." "I'm not," she replied. "I came for the ceremony tomorrow. The official dedication of the Layla Keller Medical Academy." A small smile touched Keller's lips. She would have hated all the fuss. Probably, Elena agreed. But she would have loved what it represents, the first truly interspecies medical training facility in the galaxy. They stood in companionable silence, watching as a Varn medical ship passed by the viewport, its design sleeker than their military vessels, oriented toward healing rather than harm. "Your vaccine distribution mission," Elena said after a moment. "It's complete." Keller nodded. The last colony received their supplies 2 weeks ago. The Novara plague has been contained throughout Varn space. "And the rumors about what you did in the Moran sector?" His expression remained neutral. "Pirates were targeting refugee transports." "They're not anymore." Elena studied him. "You've changed, Captain." "Have I?" he asked, genuinely curious. "When I first met you, you were a man prepared to die. Then you became a man determined to kill." She gestured to the memorial. Now I'm just trying to honor her," Keller finished simply, "one day at a time." From his pocket, he withdrew a small holographic projector. When activated, it displayed an image of Layla, laughing, vibrant, alive, in the lab where she'd done her work. "I still talk to her," he admitted quietly. "In the quiet moments, I tell her about the places I've been, the lives her work has saved." "What would she say back, do you think?" Elena asked gently. Keller considered this, watching the hologram. "She'd probably tell me to stop living in the past, to find a new purpose." A rueful smile crossed his face. She always was practical that way. Beyond the viewport, Earth rotated slowly below them, peaceful from this distance. "The Varn diplomatic delegation arrives tomorrow," Elena said. "Science Minister Ekla specifically requested you attend the ceremony." "Did she?" Keller sounded surprised. "We've had limited contact since the initiative began." She says there's an offer she wants to discuss with you personally. Something about an exploration mission to the Outer Rim. Apparently, there are species there who have never had contact with either humans or Varn. Interest flickered in Keller's eyes. New first contacts. With a focus on medical and scientific exchange, Elena confirmed. They're looking for someone who understands both military protocol and humanitarian missions. Someone who's seen the worst of interspecies conflict and chosen a different path. For the first time in their conversation, Keller seemed truly engaged, a spark of the man he had once been, before grief, before vengeance, showing through. "I'll think about it," he said, though his tone suggested he already had. As they turned to leave, Keller paused for one last look at the memorial. The names glowed softly in the starlight, not forgotten, but transformed from a call for vengeance into a foundation for something new. One name shone brightest to his eyes. Dr. Layla Keller. "Goodbye, love," he whispered, not for the last time, but perhaps for the first time without the crushing weight of loss. As he walked away, the stars continued their eternal dance beyond the viewport, indifferent to the small dramas of sentient beings. Yet in that vastness, something had changed, a cycle of violence broken, a new path forged. The universe had feared one man's revenge. Now it would witness what could be built in its place. ***, the end ***.